Well, good morning. It is Mindset Monday, and I hope that your morning has gone well so far. We have, I was just talking with Autumn in San Diego about the weather, and she said that it's going to be very warm there. And I'm here in Colorado, and we got about 6 inches of snow yesterday, and it is just coming down right now. So we need the moisture, but it's a beautiful thing to look out the window and see the snow. This is not my window, by the way. I'm gonna have to put some mountains back there on my screen. But today is going to be a fun topic. Um, Looks like I've got about five people here. And in the chat, I'd like to know who has taken the DISC assessment, DISC. If you have, I would love to get a yes from you if you've taken that DISC assessment. I try to take it like every other year so that I can see, if I'm still that same personality as I get older. And so at the end of this PowerPoint that I'm going to show, I'm going to give you access to how to get to the DISC assessment so that you can take it. And that way you can understand your personality style, because that's what the topic is going to be about, is knowing what your personality style is and then how to adapt to another person and their personality style. So it's really important in real estate because you are going to be dealing with every single one of the personality traits. Now, you might attract to you more of what your personality style is. That's usually how that energy works. And then with your mindset, you'll be able to see that, if you think a certain way or feel a certain way and your energy is a certain way, then you're usually going to attract that type of person. For example, with my assessment, I'm a very high I, which I'll go over what they stand for, but I'm also a high D, and I'm really low on the S and the C. So let me see if I can get this PowerPoint up here, and that way I can, it doesn't, there we go. And that way we can talk about this. So let's see if we get the slideshow going. And of course, it's at the last slide. Okay, so can everybody see this? Adapting to client personalities in real estate? A thumbs up. All right. So this, again, what I wanted to talk about is the DISC personality traits and how to understand them when you're working with buyers and sellers. And what you're going to learn is those four DISC personality styles, how to quickly recognize your buyer or seller personalities. And really, like I said, it's very, very important during a real estate transaction that you understand that personality of the buyer or the seller, because it affects how they actually make their real estate decisions. And then I want you to learn how to adapt to that communication style, because a lot of times you're going to have to adapt and take on a little bit of that other person's style so that they can relate, right? So a lot of times if you stay with not adapting to their communication style, a lot of times there's going to be not a very good communication going on, and there could be easily be a breakdown. So here it is. This is what DISC stands for. And it's been used, this assessment's been used by people like Tony Robbins, different coaches that say, before I coach you, I'd like to talk to you about your personality style. So take this DISC assessment, and that way I can learn a little bit more about you. You'll learn a little bit more about yourself, but also how you can relate to other people. So the D, the high D, stands for dominance. and that's more of a results driven. So you'll also hear that acronym for D is also driven. And with the ninja selling that I coach and teach, ninja selling has come up with these P words that also are easy to remember when you're thinking about these different types of personality styles. So it's power for the high D person. The high I is going to be, an influencer, people that get recognition, they love people, and we call them in ninja selling the party people. And then you've got S, that's going to be more steady type of personality. They really need security, and they're really big on relationships. And the thing about high S's is they do not like change. And so they're more of like this peace personality, very balanced, equal type of personality where they're not, too high in their energy and they're not too low. They're just very balanced with their personality. Then you've got the high C that is going to be more of a compliance driven type person. They love data, and their numbers have to be accurate, and everything that they look at when they're making a decision is based on, is that accurate and how does that feel to them? And with the ninja selling, we call those people perfect. So when you think about these different personality styles, what do you think about with their, what types of people are in that disc personality profile? So what I did is I went in and looked up, what a high D, those types of people will be a lot of entrepreneurs, um, people that run companies. And can you see a lawyer being a high D when you think about that driven type? And I always say that high Ds always think that they're right. Those kind of people as well. And then maybe a sales leader, somebody that's in that position as a leader of a team. Military officers are a lot of times high Ds because they, again, are that type of person that's very driven, gotta, move fast, and they think fast. And a lot of time political figures and even doctors are high Ds. Now, when it comes to high I, when we were talking about, they love people, they're the party type person, that's where a lot of real estate agents fall in. But just because you're a high I and you do real estate and doesn't always mean you're going to be hugely successful. But at the same time, if you are a high I, what we have found out with being in real estate, that there are a lot of people that will actually want to work with you because of your energy versus somebody that's got, 20 years experience. So if you're brand new and you're a high I, a lot of times you can drop into real estate and get business because you've built those relationships. You love people, people trust you. Okay, and so the other eyes are marketing people, people that like to train and coach. They said event planners and even celebrities, are a lot of high eyes are celebrities because they like that recognition. Um, and they've always loved that growing up, and so they have that personality style of, hey, everybody look at me, right? And then you've got the high S that's going to be more of people that work in human resources. I can totally see a nurse being a type of client that is going to, you know, really care about people. Teachers care about people, customer service. And so high S people do really, really well in real estate. And the reason for that, and I've trained a lot of them, is they come in, let's say they were a teacher before, and they really cared about helping people and seeing people grow. And then they get into real estate and they're like, they still have that type of how can I serve? And so they do very, very well in real estate. And then the high C is going to be people that, again, like the numbers, accountants, financial advisors, even, programmers, IT people, and of course, data analysts. They are high C. And then you've got quality control. And what we have found is transaction coordinators are usually very high C. And so if you are a D or a I or a S, a lot of times you will want to partner up with somebody that's a C that's going to keep you in compliance. Um, and I've had that pretty much my whole marriage life is I'm a high I and I'm also entrepreneur, so I have some D qualities. But then my husband is was a software person, very high C, and he was my transaction coordinator for years, and it's because we balanced that out. Now, also, if you're looking to hire an assistant and you are a high I, you might uh, have too much fun, or you might not get a whole lot of work done. And so what we say is if you are a high D or high I, you might want to have an assistant that is a high S, and that way that person can also balance you out. If you are a high D and you're looking to hire an assistant, that mindset needs to be, will I get along with this high D person that's got that personality of, like I said, always being right, very driven. And then if you hire an assistant that's a high D, you guys might knock heads. So you have to think about these types of things when it comes to personalities. And so what I've noticed, with people that I work with that are high Ds, that are CEOs, um, entrepreneurs, they make their decisions very, very quickly. They're focused on results and they see it and feel it very quickly. Okay. So that real estate strategy aspect, if you are, let's say you are talking over the phone with somebody who wants to list their house, and you notice when you're talking to them over the phone that they're like, quick to answer, and then they want to get off the phone very quickly. Okay, I've got to go. It's because they are moving on to the next thing they have to do. So if you're talking on the phone, you've got this listing consultation going, and you go and you have a 30-page, 35-page report, and you sit down with this person, you're going to lose them, right? Because you're taking too long, you're taking so much time. You want to make that consultation before you get there and meet with them. You want to make everything quick and decisive for them to look at something, look at that market analysis, and go through it pretty quickly with them, show the market data, what's happened, so they can see the outcomes. And then you have to be quick to provide those options that they can choose from. Okay, so just remember, high D people, you need to be very quick with them, because I've had the situation where I had a high D husband and a high S wife that didn't like change, and she was very slow with things. And so I could feel that energy at the table when we were talking. So I just told the husband, I said, I'm going to spend a little bit more time with your wife here if you've got other things that you need to do. And he was like out of that chair so fast, because he was like, I already made up my mind. I know what the price is. And he told me right there, here's where I think the price should be. And then I was able to explain everything else with the wife a little slower, so that you know, she didn't feel like she wasn't part of the decision. Now, high I's, again, I'm very high I. I'm almost like 90%, and then I've got some D in there. And so the traits that you'll see is, like I said, I usually attract a lot of high I people in my business, buyers and sellers, because they know me, like me, trust me, and we always have a good time. I try to make this adventure of buying or selling a house fun versus, a chore. And so if you enjoy conversation and you have that lifestyle where you can actually visualize it and you can display that to other people, especially high I, you'll see that you'll get a lot of referrals. And they're going to refer that same type of friend because they're friends with the same type of personalities. So that real estate strategy for you is always focus on the excitement aspect of it, the emotional aspect of it, the the lifestyle. Can you see yourself entertaining in this backyard? Those kind of things. And you always want to be a really good storyteller as a high I agent. And you're going to get testimonials, so always use those testimonials and those stories because the high I buyers and sellers, they're that same type of, can visualize things, they feel things, they're emotional about things. And so if you can build rapport before you dive into those types of details regarding price and marketing and things like that, if you can build that rapport with them, they're going to trust you. They're going to be like, I want to work with this person. And a lot of times with referrals, if you had somebody that you helped that was a high I and then they referred you another high I, they don't even interview anybody else. They just want to go with you because they know that their friend had a good experience. And then high S clients, those steady people that don't like change, they're very loyal. Um, they are relationship oriented, and that relationship has to be that type of relationship that they can trust. They're that stability, they're going to ask you questions like, well, what if we go with this price and it doesn't sell? And you're going to have to prove to them, here's what we're going to do if that happens, right? You want to not go too fast with them. They do have some of the lifestyle character traits, but since they don't like change very much, they're going to go with like um, feelings they've got around the house, like they can't even believe that they're having to move. One of the they're like they love this house, they love the memories, and so you're going to have to help them with the buying aspect of it, helping them to see that they're going to have more memories and talk about stuff like that. Provide that reassurance that it's going to be okay that you're selling this house that they've lived in for 25 years, and and you don't want them to sabotage it, right? You don't want them to say, no, we don't want to sell. But you want to focus on how it will benefit them, especially as a seller, and then look at when they're buyers, how that long-term benefit. These are the type of people that drive their cars forever. Okay, when you meet them, they have like, a 1995 Subaru or a Honda Accord. They're the types of people that you look at and you say, okay, this is going to be hard for them to sell their house. So you move at a very comfortable pace. And then, oh, also, let me go back to S's. Also, they don't make their minds up very quickly when it comes to buying. So a lot of times you have to show them more houses and you've got to be patient. So that's a problem with me because I'm usually like, this is the house, this has everything you need, let's make an offer so that nobody else gets this house. And you don't want to do that with a high S because it scares them. So you want to slow down, ask them questions while you're in the property, get them to start feeling things, and then you can ask them, is this the property that you think that you would like to offer on? Or you could say, how would you feel if I called you tomorrow morning and this property was gone? That's going to sort of wake them up a little bit, like, oh, maybe I should make a decision quicker than normal. And so just be patient. Know that it takes a little bit longer with the high S. Now, with the high C people, they're very cautious. And they usually drive, if you think about cars, they usually drive the car that's going to have, um, like a Volvo or something. They're very safe and they've read everything about it and they know that this has got all the bells and whistles and everything that they need. They're so detail oriented that a lot of times you might not know some of the things that they have researched. And I've had that happen before, where you go in and you sit down with them as a seller and they've already got everything all prepared themselves. So what you're going to do is you go over some more facts with them that some things that they might have missed. But you definitely want to have graphs and charts and anything, all those statistics that you can come up with. They love that. And then that comparable sales and market report are so important, where you take the time, you let them analyze it. And again, you don't rush, because they have to make that decision in a very analytical, not emotional. Like a lot of times as buyers, you show them properties and they are like, how much rainfall does it get here? Or, they talk about the aspects of how old is the roof. They go all through, the furnace situation, where high I will be like, oh, it's a new furnace. How nice. And they're more about, all of the aspects of how that furnace works. Okay, so when they're making decisions, and I went through a couple of these things with you, but just know that high D buyers, they're looking for a good deal. If they can get a good deal and they can talk to all of their friends about the deal they got, then that's what you're going to look for, because they also want the nicest house. A lot of times high Ds are, they go with everything that looks like, is this something that other people would like if they came into my house? It's because it shows pride of ownership. And then buyers that are high I, they usually, again, like I said, they buy on that lifestyle. How is it, how close is the park, or how close is the hike to this house? Is there, a river that's close? They look at things based on lifestyle. How close is the gym? And they also look at, when they're buying, they're very excited and they make quick decisions. So a lot of times I would say high I buyers have a little bit more buyer remorse. Um, uh, S have some buyer remorse as well. So you have to be aware of that. And with the high S, they need that reassurance of trust, like I was telling you. You're going to have to move slowly with them in that aspect of helping them to feel that this is the right decision, and showing them that if they sell this house and they go and they buy another house, that they are going to have those same types of memories, and just help to influence them that it's okay to buy. And then high C buyers, we talked about that, how important inspections are, and any kind of documentation. So you can ask the listing agent for a lot of things when it's a high C buyer that these other buyers might not really feel necessary. And then with sellers, um, we talked about this again earlier. They need that focus price. you know, what kind of deal are they getting? Is it priced right? Am I paying the cheapest that I can get? And again, it's all about speed. So they might see a house, and because they've done all their research and they know the house that they want, and then they go in, they see it, and they're like, let's put an offer. And so you're going to have to be more fast paced if you are a a listing agent, and you're a high S or a high C, and you've got this high D person that wants to move so fast. You're going to have to allow that to happen, because you might be, well, maybe you should think about this. No, you need to go with that personality trait that's the high D. Same thing with high I's. They really care about that presentation of what the house looks like. Does it flow? Um, do I feel good in this house? A lot of times high I's will do that. They're like, I just don't feel it. And so if you're a high S or a high C, you might not even know what they're talking about. And so you are going to have to go with what that high I is feeling, and just say, okay, I trust that this high I seller knows what type of house they want. And then you're going to have to adapt. The high S sellers, again, we talk about that trust aspect of it. If you're high D and you're working with a high S seller, and let's just say that you're thinking it's taking way too long, that's where you're going to have to stop and ask questions and focus on that rapport again. Because if I, and I've done it more than I can't even imagine how many times that I've done it where my patience starts to, because I'm high D and high I, and so I'm, trying to move fast, and the high S is looking at me like, you know, I don't I don't trust this. I don't trust your what you're thinking. And so I have to go back to asking questions and get them to feel that trust again. Especially if you've showed them like 50 homes. My patience starts to wear off. So high C sellers, again, what I was telling you, they're always going to care about your market analysis, any kind of data that you can bring in, and ask them questions about how old is their furnace, how old is the roof. They're going to know everything. They're going to have this big stack of, they're the best sellers because they have everything documented for that they're also going to want to do a pre-inspection. So it's always great to, as you as an agent, to say to that high C, would you like to get a pre-inspection? And they're probably going to say, oh yeah, we've already had one. So it's good to be on that level with a high C that you know what you're talking about. Again, with the adapting, you might want to take a screenshot of this because this is the best analogy of when you trying to match your style. Once you find out what kind of personality trait you are, know that with high D you need to be very direct and don't beat around the bush. Be very results focused. This is what's going to happen. With high E, be very energetic, personable, make it fun, exciting, emotional. With high S, just I've used this word over and over in high S, be patient, reassure them that it's all going to be okay. And then with the C in the compliance person, just be very detailed and factual. And then, just try to identify when you first talk to them on the phone, start thinking about what kind of personality style they might be, and then start to adjust yours to adapt to theirs. Emphasize what matters most to that personality style, and then you start building that trust through alignment. Even though you might be the opposite of what they are, you're going to try to align with them with trust. So the key takeaway for you guys really is you got to understand people and you've got to know what your personality trait is, what you lean towards. Okay, so that's, like I said, the older I've gotten, the more I've gotten with the other personality styles. But 5, 10 years ago, I was so high D and so high I that now I've seen that I've changed. So you will change sometimes when you do as you get older, wiser. But when you adapt to your client's personality, you're going to notice these four things. That your communication's going to improve. There's not going to be like this, someone saying that you couldn't communicate with them because you were so different. You'll start to see how you can adapt and improve that communication. The trust is going to happen a little quicker if you understand what personality trait that person is. And then the transactions go a lot smoother. Because if you've got somebody that's, a high S and they're worried the whole transaction, you can try to help them by giving them situations of letting them see it's all going to be okay. And then, of course, your closings will increase because you'll get more referrals and people are going to love working with you. They're going to know you, like you, and trust you and refer you. And then the final thought is, we don't just sell homes. That's, when people say, what do? You shouldn't just say, I sell homes. you should, talk about how you can relate to people. You understand the people that are buying and selling with you. So make sure you take that DISC assessment. You can go to support at assessments.ws. That's where you'll find it. Success.com. Hopefully everybody knows that EXP owns success.com. They've been around, gosh, I think they said that they've been around since the 30s, 1930s. And so Success Magazine, you get that Success Magazine every other month. And it talks a lot about DISC. But that online assessment platform, you can find that at Success, but the easiest way is going to go to support at assessment.ws and ask them for the DISC assessment, and they'll send you the link. Okay? And that is it. I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll get to another great topic. I think I'm gonna be in a month from now. I've got another great topic, but I enjoy that you guys come on to these Monday mindsets because this is, great information. I hope you take this with you and run with it and understand that we have to know these kind of things to do well in business. Okay? So have a great week and reach out to me if you have any questions about this. Bye.
If you'd like more information or to get connected to the Agent Power Huddle, join our free Facebook group. This call was designed for the agents in our EXP organization, but open to any agent from any brokerage. If you're a guest and you're interested in learning more about EXP or our specific resources within the Agent Collective, reach out to the person who invited you to this call to get more info. Produced by the Agent Collective Media Network.